Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters. We have a couple of Mage versus Warrior, excuse me, coming up next. We have bloodyface versus Eddie, a rematch between two teammates for the Grandmasters standings here. One of the things that I was thinking about and reading over the break was people talking about their bad starts in the league. And again, it's a low sample size. So when we show someone that's like 6-1 or 1-5, etc., like all these like small numbers, remember it's not indicative that they're a bad player or that they're even playing poorly as a result. It's just that. One, it could be a mixture of technical play and preparation, but two, it's a tournament. There are going to be losers. And it doesn't mean that they're a bad player. It just means that they're not performing up to the standard that we hope that they could and not getting the W, but sometimes it goes that way.
Yeah, and, there's still a lot of weeks left to play. Well, 3, but that's 6 matches. Mm-hmm. So even though we're past the halfway point, I don't think anybody is far enough down in the standings to where they don't at least have a shot of playoffs. And then, of course, we have a whole nother season. It's not like, it's just these 7-8 weeks that you have to try and qualify for the global finals. You have to come back strong for Season 2, and you still have just as good of a shot as anybody else in the field for qualifying for the global finals come Season 2. So it's about taking everything in stride. I liked what Just Saying said. Last year was all about, this marathon of just trying to be consistent across hundreds of hours of tournament play over the course of the year. And this year it's about just bringing your best decks, prepping as best you can, and showing up to play in your 30 to 45 minutes that you come every weekend and not try and focus too much on the results, but focus on the process along the way. And eventually the results will come. It's
a sprint, not a marathon. I like what he was saying. And more importantly, it's a different skill set. It's a different skill set. So going into the next match here with bloodyface, we'll see if he can bring his best to the table. Although, I gotta be very candid, I feel like I've been witnessing bloodyface experience some of the worst beats in America so far.
Yeah.
When I just kind of watch how some of his opponents' hands have been able to pan out, it's just like, it's very difficult to overcome. Maybe part of it is the matchups, like him choosing to bring Mage, but I don't feel like I see anything out of the norm that would be worthy of calling to attention. And then you look at Eddie, and he's kind of bringing the same thing every week, and I feel like that makes him vulnerable to be targeted. And in this matchup head-to-head, I mean, I do still give it to the Mage, but perhaps maybe we'll see it go a different direction. The only caveat to that is Eddie doesn't seem like he's prepared for Mage. He doesn't have the usual super colliders, big game hunters, package to really shut it down. Instead, he's got the barista Lynchin, and he's got the snip snap spellbreaker stuff. We'll see if that ends up being a factor, because as you guys heard it from Purple yesterday, he feels like there's multiple paths to victory against Mage, one of them being the more aggressive route, but very candidly, that has not panned out.
No. And
not panned out. In fact, Firebat played that similar deck list, and in Firebat's word, he thinks that the deck was hot garbage despite him playing well. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of what happens,
Yeah. And already a difference in opinion, Eddie versus Purple, where Purple was talking about how Dr. Mad Genius is not a keep versus Mage.
It's not a keep versus anything.
Not a keep versus anything except for mid-range hunter is what he said.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been a little too far in that direction, but we were specifically talking about the matchup against Mage, and he says definitely not a keep. Whereas Eddie says, I think it is a keep.
It's funny because when you look at when you listen to pro players discuss their opinions on the game, a lot of times it seems to be very extreme. You always keep this card. You never play into this. You always play this card. You never cut that card. And I think for them, part of it is obviously exaggeration to emphasize how important that they think it is. Because I think in a game of Hearthstone, there's almost no absolutes. There's a few of them, which is putting your opponent to 0 health tends to be good. But, generally speaking, there's almost no absolutes. I think Hearthstone is extremely relative based on the game state, the situation, and also the resource count, right? Random generation.
There's got to be some absolutes, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, even in Purple's absolute, he even gave an exception to mid-range hunter.
Yeah.
That being said, I think a second thing to note is that Eddie's deck list is very different from Purple. He's playing a much more control-oriented. Heck, I mean, even has the Archivist of Lysiana because he anticipated hitting other warriors.
Yeah.
It just shows a different read and different approach entirely. I think Firebat and Purple's approach is to try and pressure other warrior decks.
Yeah, this is... You said but?
I said, but Eddie clearly does not want to pressure nearly as much.
Yeah, it is a traditional bomb warrior list. No snip snap, no mid-range stuff. It's the same bomb warrior that we would have seen in week 1.
More of a control bomb warrior, which makes more sense to the way that people usually think about this class and archetype. When people think of bomb warrior, they think of the control variant, like you just play bombs and just wait for them to leave the game or wait for them to blow up, one or the other. But with the modern form of bomb warrior, it feels like they just transitioned to that mid-range approach. Now, with bloodyface's hand right now, seems like he's given that time to Eddie because he doesn't have much of a choice here. Seems like at best he can go for a mana cyclone setup here. Still pretty good. Yeah. See what spells come into the hand here. The only downside is that this play is very vulnerable to a Warpath.
Yep. But if he dodges Warpath, then perhaps he gets to play Sea Giant next turn.
Ooh, Astral Rift. I'm always a fan of Astral Rift. I feel like it's a card that's very difficult to play around and also adds a lot of interesting play patterns depending on what comes out. I do find it pretty funny, which is, Astral Rift is so broad. Just add 2 minions to your hand. I'm waiting for the time where it's just like, add a card from Hearthstone to your hands. Like, okay, this is just literally thousands of possibilities.
I would love that card. What class would it belong to? Probably Mage, I guess.
It could be something like Warlock, because Warlock is very much about summoning like things from the void. So it can just be like opening up a portal to summon a minion. Yeah. Mage does seem like it, because Mage is also a summoning class.
Well, I mean, did have Unstable Portal, which was any minion in the game.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm just trying to see if we can go even broader.
Maybe just give it to somebody. It could belong in Rogue. They stole this card.
It's true.
All right, Omega Devastator played for tempo here. No other great plays for Eddie. Don't want to brawl that board. Absolutely not.
But by playing it, he does extend into the Sea Giant right now, which may or may not be a bad thing because there are 2 mirror images on the board.
Blah. Splintergraft.
Splintergraft is interesting because you can get a cheap minion. In fact, you might be able to get a free Sea Giant. That's a 10/10 version of it.
Yeah.
But Acorn Bearer. Acorn Bearer is interesting too because it works really well with Mountain Giant.
Yeah, it fills up your hand.
Huh.
Could even play Acorn Bearer Sea Giant here. It fills up your hand for Mountain Giant. That's kind of interesting.
That is really interesting. And I think that's really good because if your opponent doesn't answer the Sea Giant, then you have a Conjurer's Calling afterwards.
Or you could Conjurer's Calling your Acorn Bearer for more Acorn Bearers.
It's true. All possibilities, TJ. There's 2 brawls in the deck, so Bloodyface knows that there is a possibility for that. Eddie should want to attack into this minion first to activate Splitting Image after.
Yeah, still has only thing he's tested for is Mirror Entity, so still Counterspell. So attack into the minion first, see if it's Splitting Image. If it is, then you don't have to use the coin if you want to try and brawl to play the Counterspell.
I do like the Splitting Image play from Bloodyface because it does bluff a Counterspell so that Eddie has to use his coin first. Because he knew by setting up Splitting Image with the Mirror Image that it's very low value. But if you can get a little bit of disruption, it'd make Eddie's life more difficult. And now Eddie, he has the Brawl available to him. Be very surprised if he chooses otherwise. Maybe he thinks of another play that I'm not considering right now.
I'm honestly surprised he didn't attack first.
I think right now he's just trying to see if he can get an extra minion into the Brawl. Okay, no attack. This might end up working in Bloodyface's favor if one of his bigger minions survived, or even the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Oh gosh! Oh, that is bad news. And we kind of talked about how bloodyface has been getting some bad beats, but there's one of the best ones that he's experienced all tournament.
Yeah, and since Eddie hasn't checked for splitting image yet, it means that
it gets worse.
Even these militia commanders, it's going to be brutal. Now it's about how far does bloodyface want to extend. He could attack and double Conjurer's Calling. He could Conjurer's Calling once, evaluate whether he sets up a 2-turn lethal, which he does.
Yes.
Hmm.
And now it's like, is there a second brawl opportunity?
Even if there is, he can't really throw anything into the brawl. You saw a Town Crier. So you're going to have a big minion survive anyway. I think you just go in. Second Conjurer's Calling.
You Conjurer's Calling the Hakar?
Probably.
Runs out on me.
It's less damage. Wow, okay.
Oof.
Eddie is deady.
Maybe not so much. He thinks it might be Spellbender, but he can't afford to not take that risk.
Yep.
Job's done.
Yeah, Eddie looks confused because he was almost 100% sure that it was Spellbender.
Yeah, but he hasn't tested Vaporize or Ice Barrier.
Yep.
In this case, he hasn't tested Splitting Image either.
I think he's more just curious of bloodyface's timing. Because bloodyface had the option to ping off the frozen Clockwork Goblin, but instead decided to play a Splitting Image, which is interesting because he had the mirror image on the board, like you said. In order to deviate from the ping, Eddie was thinking that bloodyface must have had a secret that he wanted to get on the board to protect his Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah. It's probably, I think it was bloodyface disrupt the Warpath, and then now the Splitting Image just remains a mystery. And that's something that I don't think I would have picked up myself. I think that's a very smart play from bloodyface that only works if your opponent is intelligent enough to read into it. Because let me tell you, if you make those plays sometimes, TJ, at lower ranks, they don't give two hoots about what secret you play. They just rip it. They're like, oh yeah, brawl. But if you have it, you have it.
Yeah.
And that, I gotta say, those are some of the most infuriating moments in Hearthstone, because it's like, if you were, like, if I was a worse player, I would have made a better play against what you would have done. But of course, that's illogical. You're just making up reasons to be mad at your.
That's level 0.
Eddie is gonna concede. bloodyface runs away with the first game. Mage on a path of redemption, tearing through everything today as Mage looks unstoppable, except against Token Druid.
Yeah.
But against the matchups that it's supposed to do well against, like Warriors, it's crushing it.
Yeah, even took a win against Rogue earlier today, which is not something that we've come to expect at all.
Yeah, I don't think Saiyan even felt like he was naturally favored against Dog, but when things are falling your way, plus maybe a minor setback here or there from Dog, and I think Mage really just shows you that it has that capability, and more importantly, maybe calling to attention what we were discussing before, which is stop paying attention to the small sample size, right? When we see Mage go 2-8 across 10 games, yeah, it's very easy to look and say, well, Mage is just bad. But now if you look into another day of games, Mage is almost at an even score now, right? Like based off its wins, because it got a win today with Alutimu. You kind of washed the Pavel versus Seiko match because it was both playing Mages. Mm-hmm. And then Mage getting 3 wins today, potentially, maybe even a 4th win. All of a sudden, it just feels like it's closer than it is. It's not. There's never like a case in Hearthstone where it's like 15 to 20% if you bring like one of the best decks in the metagame. It's just very rarely going to be like that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be like that for a while, considering we've seen so many changes. I can't imagine there's going to be more coming soon. But we did get word that these players are both switching. bloodyface going to a secondary deck, which takes out Magic Trick, double Frost Nova, double Sea Giant, and adds in 2 Twilight Drakes, Harrison Jones, and 2 Astromancers.
Yeah, you might look at that game and be a little confused. Wait, didn't bloodyface just win with Sea Giant? Why is he taking it out? That game is more of an anomaly, that you get to play Sea Giant as quickly as you do and punish your opponent for it. It just happened to be a really good pan out there for bloodyface, and he won that brawl. But he knows that it could have easily gone the other direction if he kept losing his minions, and Eddie was able to stall long enough to get value off of his cards. So I think this is an appropriate switch, even though he won. And Twilight Drake is the nuts against the Warrior.
And Eddie has decided to go with his tertiary deck, which has taken out both Omega Assemblies, a Shield Block, and the Archivist Elysiana, and has included the second copy of Eternium Rover, an Acolyte of Pain, Snip Snap, and Spellbreaker. What do you think, Dan?
Well, I guess Spellbreaker does make sense. There's a lot of freeze in the deck, so you can unfreeze your minion by silencing it. There's also you probably anticipate your opponent, bloodyface, to switch to Twilight Drakes. So I like that. I think Snip Snap is just a good card to put into warrior decks. I also think that Acolyte of Pain is sorely missing, and Omega Assembly, while very good, is only really good against warrior. So overall, I do agree with the choice from the tertiary deck here from Eddie. Two players also on the mirrored side of records. Bloodyface at 2 and 5, Eddie at 5 and 2. Eddie, of course, topping out his division. A win here would put him still in first place. But a loss here, as much as it's not that bad to lose to your teammate, does end up knocking you down a peg. Yeah. And we might see a different first place. We'll have to see the actual standings at the end of the day.
Yeah. And Bloodyface currently tied for, well, I guess he's a little bit ahead now because Amnesiac. No, Amnesiac's 3-5.
Yeah, Amnesiac's 3-5.
So, despite his loss today. Okay, decent tempo options for Eddie.
Yeah.
Needs a 3-drop to fill this gap. We've seen the main win condition for the Warrior in this matchup has been just tempo. Just getting the bomb cards early on, getting some early face damage, and closing out the game later on with Blastmaster Boom and bombs.
Yeah, I think setting up for the Twilight Drake here seems to be the most important thing that he's considering. How does he set up his hero power for the most success? Is it picking the minion?
Ooh.
Pain, speak to me.
Acolyte of Pain. Very nice to challenge whatever Bloodyface can play, but more importantly, set up his potential. But he's just getting a decent curve.
Yeah. This also gives up the fact that Eddie is running his tertiary deck.
Yes.
Because, of course, for people who haven't tuned in, the players don't have to say which deck they're choosing after the initial game one. They can switch out of their secondary or tertiary deck without declaring it.
Right.
And so the deck lists are open, so Bloodyface, you saw him kind of perk up at when he saw the Acolyte play. He's like, okay, now I know he's playing his tertiary deck. Don't have to worry about the Omega Assemblies and Shield Block, but do have to worry about Snip Snap and Spellbreaker.
Agreed.
Defend the gates.
Just a 2-5 for tempo.
Yeah. It's important to play these minions and get ahead of the your opponent. You also know that Bloodyface is likely to switch to a secondary deck. Sea Giant's a less big threat because of it. It's a non-threat actually because it's not in the deck. But you don't know 100% for sure. But based off of your deduction, you can assume that your opponent is not playing Sea Giants and thus extend onto the board. So Eddie can remove this Giant.
It would cost him almost his whole board.
Yeah, a large part of it. He can combine things like Militia Commander.
What now?
And some of his smaller minions.
Yeah, no matter which way you slice it, he's only left with 1 minute if he decides to remove it.
Well, he could Shield Slam too. But
yeah, but then he'd still have to trade in 3 of his minions.
Well, you'd Militia Commander trade in the 1/3 and Shield Slam and then push.
Oh, I see.
I don't know if that's worth it though.
That's a lot of resources.
It is a lot of resources.
Defend the gates.
To protect 3 damage on board. This way protects 2 of his minions and gets to develop Eternium Rover, but the problem is he doesn't have a way to capitalize because none of these cards he's played are bomb cards. So he really has no payoff outside of like Warpath, which isn't necessarily an offensive payoff. It's just a resource payoff.
Yeah, I wonder if bloodyface just wants to cleanly kill his Acolyte to stop a Warpath from getting card draw. At this point, Eddie I mean, Eddie might lose just off sheer value. Like, bloodyface just might have more threats.
Yeah.
Seems like instead he saw that Eddie couldn't deal with the big, the Mountain Giant. There's no big game hunter or easy, convenient access to destroy it. He can just fill up his hand with a Mana Cyclone this turn. He could Mirror Image, coin Mana Cyclone. He does set himself up for a worse Brawl, but the nice thing is that the Brawl would kill off Eddie's own Acolyte, so he wouldn't be able to draw a card. Acolyte Pain only works when it takes damage, but if it's removed through a destroy effect, say it's like an Execute or it's transformed through a Polymorph, it won't draw any cards. I gotta wonder if that's what bloodyface is thinking here. Is he only gonna just play Mirror Image and pass? Okay, so he is going for the Mana Cyclone.
Just a couple spells, but still gives him something on board. 2 random spells, another Astral Rift.
I don't mind this play. It might look very low value, but I think bloodyface's hand does too much of the same thing, which is put cards into his hand or just play like a minion, you know? And I think what spells do, the random mage spells do, is it adds a lot of unpredictability for the warrior to play around. And it also gives him potential more options in case he wants to stop playing minions and just leverage his board. If he picked up like AoE, he can just like play a Blizzard or like a Frost Nova type thing and then push damage. And he doesn't have to develop more into a Brawl. Because I think the one thing that bloodyface is thinking about is, what if I just extend too far and I get brawled and then the resource count becomes even again?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to worry about, but honestly, like the resource count, bloodyface, even with the switch to a secondary deck, has even more value from his deck. Like, he doesn't have the Sea Giants, but honestly, Astromancers sometimes better than Sea Giants because they don't have this specific scenario where there's minions on board, they have to use it, and also presents 2 threats that the warrior has to deal with. Both of which, most of the time, unless you're playing with a small hand, also threaten Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah, bloodyface doesn't have access to that coin, so he can't hero power Ziliax here. That'd be very nice. Looks like he's just gonna have to trade with the Mountain Giant. And if I'm Eddie, I think this is his best opportunity to stave off the pressure with the Brawl. He can draw a card with the Acolyte, TJ. Do you leave that 2-1 on the board to increase the chance that your opponent has a weak minion survive on the board with Brawl?
You trade it for 2 armor? I don't know. But if this is the play, maybe he's not even going to Brawl. Maybe he wants to wait for Conjurer's Calling. This Town Crier doesn't draw anything.
Right.
I don't think he has a Rush minion left in his deck. Yeah, he's played both Militia Commanders and a Ziliax.
Okay. Yeah, I think for him, losing the card draw on the Acolyte's too valuable.
Yeah.
He needs to improve the resource count in his hand. Bloodyface has Astromancer that'll summon an 8-cost minion. 8-cost minions, in my opinion, TJ, are universally the best to do to summon in terms of its versatility, because it's got everything on that slot. It's got taunt, it's got heal, it's got rush, it's got charge. And it's got like sometimes like hidden effects that could just end the game that you're not accounting for. With all these like random effects.
Tyrion will always be at that 8 slot.
Yeah, Tyrion's gonna be at the 8 slot, but even just like you know, some of like the Loas that you don't expect, or just like powerful legendaries at like 8. There's like, you know, Fell Lord Beltrug. It's like one time I lost to that because my opponent just like drew a Mountain Giant and then summoned and it got rushed and it just killed my minion.
Didn't he just get buffed?
Did he?
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he was 7.
Was he 7? I might be. I just remember that got summoned off of an Astromancer once and I lost because of it. It might be 7. You might be right. 7 mana 5/7. That would make sense.
It is 8. For some reason I thought I got buffed.
Huh. Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
My memory didn't fail me. I definitely did not get buffed. Dr. Morrigan is what got buffed.
Ah, okay. That's,
so you actually
that's the Warlock Legendary.
You actually removed bad at 8
A
mana.
bad 8 mana.
But yeah, it's like stuff like that, and then you're like, huh, I never really thought of this card at all, and now it's just like owning me. Speaking of weird, unusual stuff, bloodyface picked up a Youthful Brewmaster, so we can Astromancer Youthful Brewmaster next turn. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
As if you need more value to go over the top over the warrior.
Curio Collector's interesting too. It is just a threat that whenever you draw a card, it gains +1/+1. Not the best because it's pretty expensive for what it does. Maybe you can combine it with like Arcane Intellect to make it a 6/6 right away.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I remember playing Book of Spectres deck and putting Curio Collector in it.
Yeah.
It was just not a very practical combo because you never really save Book of Spectres, nor do you ever really like get the opportunity to keep the Curio Collector on the board.
Yeah,
It's pretty weak. Okay. I mean, the game is just telling you to just go big, but at the same time, bloodyface knows that the possibility of brawl.
That's why you Youthful Brewmaster.
That's
why you Brewmaster. Alec here, we're talking about charge minions that can come out.
Wow. You
I
can even
mean-
Brewmaster the Alec here.
Astromancer seems like it's more universal. Another really funny thing that he could do is Brewmaster's Mana
What
Cyclone.
to do? What to do?
That's true too, but the spells are very inconsistent.
Yeah. The one thing too, bloodyface has to play around starting turn 10 is Warpath. So he should try to avoid taking damage on his Alec here. Should take the damage onto his Twilight Drake instead because it would survive. Okay, so with this, I think bloodyface says if you do go for a Warpath, you're killing off your own minions anyways. I'm not afraid of losing my Alec here. Instead, he wants to keep his Twilight Drakes healthy. That makes sense.
And he does have double Omega Devastator plus Blast Shield. So it can go up to 21, take out both Twilight Drakes, plus Alakir or Ziliax.
You know another Astromancer's coming out. But if you brawl, you can deal with an Astromancer on the following turn with one Omega Devastator.
Yeah,
This might be a grounds for a brawl here for
might
Eddie.
be. He also has second brawl in the deck, so
This would be a good time for a master.
Yeah, and I think you
plan.
might want to bump the Alec here with the Elic before you brawl, because if the Alec here survives, you can Dynamatic him down. But the bad scenario, if the Twilight Drake survives, the brawl feels like it wasn't worth it.
Oh, I love that. Okay, then.
well, he's got to move. He's running out of time. Brawl has a significant animation.
Okay, he's going for the brawl. He's not bumping the Alec here first. Ziliax survive. About the average outcome, I'd say. Not the worst, not the best. Another
My
Astromancer that comes out.
calculations are flawless.
Put your faith.
Oh! Bloodyface. Yep, he's like, that's not bad. That's a pretty good one.
Bop, beep, bop. Now, Eddie does have Harrison Jones. So there's a small chance that this goes
What to
terribly
do?
wrong if
What to do?
Eddie has an easy way to remove Tyrion, which he kind of does with Omega Devastator. And then can follow that up with Harrison Jones. He can replenish the resources that he's been trying to get back a lot this game.
Yep, the stat line, though, for Tyrion is just very difficult. In fact,
to do?
that's
What
what
to do?
Bloodyface is evaluating.
Runs out on
Should
me.
I trade into this 1/2 to stop my Divine Shield from being popped easily? How much is the 3 damage to the face worth? This is a good hero power to the face. Bloodyface already recognized that Eddie is most likely going to have this minion trade into the Divine Shield anyways. But it's like you said, it's Harrison Jones. is actually very big. So in a way, was it good that he got Tyrion? Was it good that he didn't trade? Was it good for him to push damage versus not trade into that 1-2?
I mean, he could still push 8 damage this turn. So Eddie is running out of life, but now he's got the gas to back it up. Banana Buffoon picked up, which means that even more damage potential for bloodyface to come out here. He has the option to go for Astromancer, but honestly, maybe going with Banana Buffoon and then trying to get a big Mana Cyclone to find burn to close out the game.
I wonder.
Might be even better.
Might be better for sure. He doesn't have any cheap minions or cheap spells to use with Antonitis guaranteed, but he'll still get some spells back. And it's like you said, finding that burn is going to be important. I believe Eddie already has used Ziliax, so it's hard for him to find other ways for convenient life gain. He only can play one mirror image, otherwise he cannot play the Mana Cyclone.
Time runs out on me.
All right, let's see what's in the box.
Might have Fireball.
Frost Nova's decent.
Frost Nova is pretty solid here.
There is only one bomb in bloodyface's deck, which means that Blastmaster Boom not the greatest at the moment.
Yeah.
And the mirror image is kind of making that awkward because he can't trade things in to try and reduce the power on board.
Yeah.
Brawl might have to be the option with Omega Devastator as a backup in case, say, the Astromancer lives.
Yep. Normally you want to brawl with your hero power when you have microbots, but in this situation Eddie needs all of his mana possible. Looks like his own Harrison Jones survived. That's not a good scenario for bloodyface. He just wanted one of his minions to stick. But bloodyface does have a Flame Strike to answer this. He just has no minions to back it up.
I mean, how long can he dodge Blast Shield? That's the question.
So maybe instead of using the Flame Strike here, bloodyface goes for a Blizzard and a Sandbinder.
Try and stick something on the board.
Yeah. Because if you stick something on the board, chances are you might be able to find some extra way to win afterwards. But
yeah.
It is a bit problematic because Sandbinder is only 2 damage.
And it doesn't draw anything.
Oh, it doesn't draw a Mountain Giant?
No, he's played both Mountain Giants, both Mana Cyclones.
Oh, you are correct.
So
it actually doesn't do anything then. Splitting Image. Disrupt Eddie's plays a little bit. Snip Snap. Not what he's looking for. One thing to note, Eddie doesn't have Omega Assembly. That reduces his chance of picking up the Vicious Scrap Hound and all of these other cards that might be really important. Eddie going wider onto the board. No Sea Giant isn't really the threat. Needs to make his board versatile against Ray of Frost. Banana Buffoon.
My calculations are flawless.
Baron Geddon!
Oh, man. So, this is a tough situation.
Does he want a Conjure's Calling right now?
Yeah, that's... I mean, you have 2 7-drops on the board. If you Conjure's Calling the Astromancer, you're... while you push extra damage, sure.
What to do?
You also damage the minions that you get from the Conjure's Calling, from the Astromancer. But Baron Geddon's just higher stats overall, which means that if you Conjure's Calling the Baron Geddon and get smaller stuff, there's a potential that Eddie clears easier. I don't know. I feel like you Baron Geddon, or you Conjure's Calling the Baron Geddon.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in 7-mana slot because there's things like the Giggling Inventor and Dazzling Soul Thief.
There's just nothing left in his deck to Conjure's Calling.
You can use it on the Baron Geddon. Okay. Corehound. Chef Nomi. Eddie rolling up the sleeves saying, okay, you know what? Oh, he picked up a Warpath. That's a clear?
I mean, he nearly has a clear just with Snip Snaps and the Microbots.
That's true.
Because he has 12 damage represented on board, 15 with Microbots. and
This
there's
would be
only
a good time
16
for a
health
master plan.
on board.
Oh, right, and the splitting image, though.
So he could just Dynamatic and then clear everything up on top of that.
My
Splitting image, I think, is
calculations
maybe
are
why
flawless.
Eddie bloodyface didn't want the Baron damage.
Yeah. Yeah, Dynamatic Microbots here is pretty much a full clear in itself. Dynamatic is essentially 8 damage, and there was 15 on board with 21 health. Or just double Dynamatic, that works too.
Oh, yeah, double Dynamatic also clears it. Still no Blast Shield. Scary moment. If Bloodyface can pick up Antonidas and get spells, get fireballs, the game's over.
Also, Eddie is 3 cards deeper in Fatigue. Bloodyface only has 1 bomb in his deck, so he essentially has 10 of his own cards.
Yeah, I don't know if the fatigue will really come into play versus just dying
What
to
to
Antonidas.
do?
And he doesn't even have
What to
shield block.
do?
I mean, he does have 1,
Yeah.
but he removed 1, and he doesn't have it in his hand. This delivery drone might be a hidden MVP here for Eddie.
What to do? What to do?
I think if you're in Bloodyface's position, you have to figure out a way to take the board and stall it, but it's very difficult because they have rush on every minion. So if you play like a mirror image, it's not as guaranteed as it was before. Double Sorcerer's Apprentice.
No Mana Cyclones left, so the value of those Sorcerer's Apprentice have kind of gone down.
Yep.
May have some merit with Archmage Antonidas, but
Just playing minions onto the board. Clockwork Goblin.
whew.
So I think Eddie wants to maybe first Delivery Drone, unless he wants to just play Dr. Boom as is. Because he does have 1 bomb in the deck, so if he trades in this 1/1, Clockwork Goblin's Dr. Boom, that's the max board presence that he'll get anyways. Rover. Eternian Rover is pretty big in this spot.
And starting the push.
He's starting to push. He's also gaining a little bit of life. I mean, this is doable here. And Bloodyface is, I mean, like you said, running out of resources, running out of time. If Antonidas is his next card, though, he's still in the clear.
Still wants to dodge the Blast Shield, though. And Microbots. My
Second
conspiracy theory holds true, or now Gidon's conspiracy theory holds true. Microbots something else, Microbots something else, Microbots.
This is finally time to use Harrison Jones.
That belongs.
I don't know if that conspiracy theory has a lot of weight to it, but sometimes it just looks like it is what's happening.
I'll hold on to my confirmation bias as long as I possibly can, Dan. In this game, I've been confirmed.
Cool. That was, I had that confirmation bias on whether you're a Chucklehead.
I wonder.
You've been confirmed.
Yes.
This wasn't my conspiracy theory. This is now Gidon's.
Ah, okay. I see.
So now Gidon's been
Trying to wiggle yourself out of there?
Yeah. I would never say anything like that. Crystal Sack!
Oh, it has rush. It doesn't have charge.
Time runs out on me.
Still, it's a minion that impacts the board.
Yeah.
Bloodyface has the opportunity to go for the mirror image. You can buff it up. I mean, Bloodyface wants to also keep some spells in case he picks up the Antonidas. Warpath is a full clear. Is there an alternative to it instead? Let's say...
You can Warpath twice, Microbots, and then Clockwork Goblin.
Maybe you double trade and boom instead.
Ah, yeah.
Because you can use the microbots to clean up in case the boombots don't do enough.
Yep.
And then you have a 7/7 on board. Okay, well he's doing it beforehand. Which makes sense because the boombots might kill the minions, so he's getting value off the hero power first. This is just a better sequencing in case things don't go well.
And now 3 bombs in bloodyface's deck.
Oh man. And the blast shield finally comes up.
Yeah. bloodyface's chances in this game are slimming down. Archmage Antonidas is way deeper in the deck than bloodyface wanted to be, and does he have like Blizzard here?
Seems likely.
Sandbinder, maybe try and soak some these boombot hits.
Yeah, it should be able to survive most of the case, and it's probably going to go down one way or the other. Like you said, bloodyface has 3 bombs in the deck. He's at 18 life. He needs every bit that he can squeeze out here, because if it goes down to the fatigue, bloodyface will die if he goes down too much.
I will show you fear.
Boobot deals 2. Eddie has another bomb shuffled in. Another silence, or the silence rather, for the frozen minion. I think Eddie might have completed the comeback here, TJ. I
Looks
don't
like
think
it.
bloodyface can get out of the situation. Okay. The Ray of Frost, but Eddie has the Omega Devastator. Bloodyface is all in. He's attaching a banana, hoping that this survives. But Eddie has the Omega Devastator, and he's got the bombs waiting. Shield block. Shield slam to deal with anything. Bloodyface is out of threats. And you gotta wonder, TJ, was it that really small detail of whether or not he let his Tyrion die too easily for that swing? Was it anything else at his disposal?
Was it playing his Mountain Giants one by one without waiting for Conjurer's Calling to try and beat out Brawls earlier? You know, there's a lot of decision trees in that game. It's hard to tell what went wrong, but, you know, the nail in the coffin, I think, was just Antonidas being in the bottom 3 cards of the deck, which is a tough thing to have happen when it's kind of your mechanic for closing out games that you piled on pressure earlier on.
I mean, I do think so, but I have seen so many Mage games where it really doesn't come down to the Antonidas whatsoever. In fact, even earlier today, right, it wasn't really that big of a factor for Antonidas to close the game with fireballs against the Warrior. So I feel like there's got to be something there, and bloodyface also had a lot of like good outcomes based off of like Tyrion coming out of the Astromancer, and I mean, game number 1, the Sea Giant kind of didn't go his way with the Brawl. So Eddie being able to just survive and budget his resources, doing a good job. And when the things started coming his way, like he didn't even get the Blast Shield, right? If he had the Blast Shield, he would have just survived the Antonidas damage a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And it would have been too late.
Yeah.
All these different things were playing a factor, and I wish I could go back and evaluate that game turn by turn, because I'm pretty sure that there was definitely some other things that could have happened that maybe changed the outcome of the game.
Yeah, it seemed like bloodyface was playing around certain things, but then Eddie would have the other thing. That's kind of like he was playing around Warpath, and then bloodyface had the Brawl, and then he plays around Brawl, and bloodyface has the Warpath. Kind of like a backwards situation there. But both players are staying on the same decks. Bloodyface is going to be on the secondary deck, and Eddie on his tertiary deck, and it seemed to work out well. He didn't really need the Omega Assemblies. While they would have helped, just kind of fighting for the board early ended up being kind of the way he won. And Snipsap, honestly, was kind of the MVP there. He honestly didn't have a great way to deal with that kind of a board, especially with splitting image up.
Snipsap is super good.
Snipsap was a
Are you convinced yet, TJ?
I was never not convinced.
Just doesn't answer my question.
If I was already convinced, it's impossible for me to be convinced twice. There's no need to convince me when I already know the truth.
Okay, good. Because Snip Snap is the truth. All right.
Snip
Eddie...
snaps. Snips snaps.
Yeah, Snip Snaps.
SN1P? SN4P?
Got the hyphen.
Oh, SN1P hyphen SN4P.
Actually, I don't think there's a hyphen.
Okay, SN1P. There is a hyphen!
There is a hyphen.
You tricked me.
Gotta keep it fresh, TJ.
This is a fire start for Eddie.
Yeah, he's got Wrench Caliber, Clockwork Goblin, and Blastmaster. That's already what you want, but then he's got more support for it. I think having things like Omega Devastator and all that other stuff is not nearly as important. Bloodyface, though, I mean, you talk about having a fiery start. He had both Twilight Drakes and no Blade.
Yeah?
That's what you want to see. So whose hand is better?
I think Eddie's. Twilight Drake's going to come down here, but Eddie will be able to answer it with Militia Commander plus Wrench Caliber, and it'll stay alive. Then he follows that up with Clockwork Goblin. If that sticks, he magnetizes that. Everything's kind of like working out. And then Mage just does not have a great way to deal with Blastmaster. They play a big thing, and then you get to dictate where the bombs go. You get to push 7 damage. The nature of Blastmaster Boom is that in order to get a big effect out of it anyway, you gotta have bombs in the deck, which means that the Mage is under even more pressure because of bombs.
If he attaches a banana here, he's actually safe versus Dynamatic. Oh. But if he attached a banana, he'd also be safe against the Militia Commander number 2. In fact, he would have traded really well into it.
Huh. Maybe he want to keep his hand big in case he draws Mountain Giant or for the Astromancers, but...
Right, if he drew Mountain Giant would cost 6.
That belongs in a museum.
Second Clockwork Goblin. So that'll be 4 bombs in the deck if he plays both of these.
Right, and I think that's important because you're setting up for the Blastmaster Boom. Bloodyface taking deep breath, wondering what's going through his mind right now. Probably like, I hope I draw like 2 bombs so that I don't have to worry about it, but I don't want to take damage either. That's actually the worst case scenario. Bloodyface draws 1 bomb, takes 5 damage, there's still 3 bombs in the deck.
Yeah, it's like max pressure while still having the max boom bomb pressure.
From Wicker Bow.
Ugh.
Yeah, I personally am not a fan of the 7 mana slot.
There's a lot of misses.
I just feel like there's just a lot of understated minions because there's high impact battle cries or effects or death rattles.
But you said Snip Snap was the truth, Dan. Tunnel Blaster is the truth.
I mean, Tunnel Blasters is really good.
Blasts and tunnels day in and day out.
Is that what a Tunnel Blaster does?
Yes. Look at this board. This board is a tunnel waiting to be blasted. Everything's 3 health or less. The perfect scenario.
I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, if you get it.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, you said some of the bad ones earlier, but there's even more than that.
Pushing face damage. Bloodyface says if you're gonna go for your Dr. Boom or your Blastmaster Boom, you have to make the trades first, which I think Eddie will oblige. He's going to trade everything, summon all those boom bots, restrict the board space.
Yeah, you can clear up 2 of these minions. Militia Commander, Clockwork Goblin go into Astromancer, and Clockwork Goblin, Towncrier goes into Harrison. You're left with a 5/5, you have a 7/7, 6 boom bots. Seems good to me. There's also potential to just wait. You can push damage with Ziliax this turn, force Bloodyface to react to it. I mean, if you play Ziliax this turn, you're putting Eddie down to 7. Or sorry, Bloodyface down to 7. There's a lot going on. Still got 3 bombs in the deck, too. Put it on a 7, that's a pretty good break point, but I think the fully loaded Blastmaster Boom on 7 is too hard to pass on.
I mean, the only other possibility that Eddie could be considering is if he wants the Zilliax right now. I don't think Acolyte or Omega Devastator tempo is particularly very effective. One thing Eddie could be considering is the possibility of Bloodyface having a Frost Nova to stop him, because if he played Giant Frost Nova, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, so it'd be 5 mana plus 3 mana on the Frost Nova. So yeah, there was a possibility that Eddie could just be, well, he'd actually just die if that was the case. And now Bloodyface, I think, is going for exactly that. He's hoping that he has actually 2 tries at it. No, although Blast Wave is certainly an interesting proposition, but not for the right reasons. I think Bloodyface either has a Research Project or Mana Cyclone again. Research Project generates cards from his deck, which are just more consistent, and he needs to hit the Frost Nova now, this very moment.
Runs out on me.
Speak it into existence, TJ. Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, he can get it. He can still get it.
Yes.
Mana Cyclone again.
Okay, Icicle can freeze.
No, it can't.
Oh, right, it only does 2 damage. It's only if it's frozen. It's not how it works. Fireball. Wait, no. He could have, okay. Here's a question, TJ. Would you Conjures calling your opponent's Blastmaster Boom to give it a chance to go down to just like a Giggling Inventor as Alina tier?
I don't think so. Because even though there's a lot of misses with 7 drops, there's also a lot of very good ones.
Okay. There's just something to evaluate, I guess.
Yeah.
Eddie has the rebound. He's got Shield Block, Zilliax for life gain. Zilliax can help clear off everything. In fact, there is a chance for lethal with the boom bots.
Yeah, there is.
Unity, precision.
You start off with some life gain here, and then see where these boom bots go.
Okay, doesn't look like that is a pop. Oh, he could Warpath.
He could.
It doesn't seem like a good use of resources here.
You could Eternium Rover Warpath and gain the 2 armor. Then it's an efficient use of resources.
Okay, I mean, he does know that there's a handful of randomly generated spells. Oh wow, he is. He's going for it.
Okay.
And plus, there's a possibility the boom bots, or the boom bots and the bombs in synchronization could kill Bloodyface.
Yeah, let's see. Could set himself up for 1 bomb out. Ah, down to 6. No bomb drawn anyway. Ooh.
There's Khadgar Conjurer's Calling. It would summon 2 6-mana minions. What are you looking for in this position? I guess it's purely like damage Stegatron. Okay, Bloodyface, instead with the Stargazer Luna, I think he's still going for his Frost Nova outs. Does have the Khadgar with the Mirror Image. Also is Antonidas. Those are the possibility for him to end the game too.
Eddie may be regretting using the Warpath last turn. He's at 9 mana, so Omega Devastators aren't online. Gave up his Warpath. Bloodyface can pick apart the board here. Ooh.
And Khadgar going down. Not what Bloodyface wants to see.
Step Snap. Street Smarts.
Snip Snap here. I'm trying to evaluate what else he can do besides it, but it just looks too effective at this point. It's so good, TJ. The Golden Crab. That sounds delicious and dangerous. Bloodyface down to 1 life.
Still 2 bombs left in the deck. So actually not a super high chance to draw them. There's still 16 cards in the deck. It feels like this game's been going on for a while, but Bloodyface just hit 10 mana.
Yes, it's actually been very fast, relatively speaking, in terms of how Warrior games like to go.
But at 1 health, what can you even do?
So right now, he has the ability to draw a card. He can Conjurer's Calling.
Tools of creation.
That doesn't have any more Mana Cyclones in his deck. This would pull out a Mountain Giant.
Yep.
Mountain Giant would cost a lot of mana. lost 7.
the tools
Sorry,
of
6 because of the
creation.
draw. He draws the bomb! Bloodyface goes down. Eddie completes the comeback and remains in first place of Division A. 4 weeks of Warrior, 6-2 record, and of course some very solid play coming out from Eddie throughout the course of the weeks.
Yep. Got to kind of feel for Bloodyface in that one. You could see him putting his head in his hands at the end of that one. You know, he had a great year last year, and I'm sure he had higher expectations of himself coming into Grandmasters. Now at 2-6.
2-6. It's a tough pill to swallow. Probably going to go back and reevaluate those games and see if anything could have done differently. But one thing that actually was very surprising was that there's 2 sides of Bloodyface. He's two-faced. But there's one, the competitive side, where he's just, it seems like he's in the zone, locked in, making some amazing technical plays and reads on his opponent. And there's the other side, which is very surprising, which seems to be fairly emotional.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to me because I feel like it's very one or the other with him. It's pretty binary. Like either one side where he's like super analytical and calm, or the other is like very emotional and tilted. And I hope for the future weeks they can come back, of course, very calm and collected. But the man of the minute, Eddie, who grabbed the victory 2-1, will be joining us for a quick interview. Eddie, what's up? You there?
Yeah.
All right, Matt. So another win here, this time against your teammate again, Bloodyface. Last time it was a Warrior mirror. This time it's a Warrior versus Mage. Did you feel confident going up against Mage, given that Rage has a reputation for beating up the Warriors?
I think I didn't prep at all for this matchup because I was thinking I'm gonna lose. Like I feel the more I play, I feel like Mage is just favored, especially since I don't have like side deck for Mage at all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I basically thought this was L. And in game 1 when I saw the brawl, I'm like, yeah, that's how it goes. It's sometimes you just but I kinda got lucky, I guess, game 2. He kinda didn't trade with a Ziliax, and I got a Harrison Jones for draw 3.
Right.
Off of Tyrion was a pretty good.
Yeah, that was something that we're like, wow, if he gets like Tyrion, it's going to be like a really good thing. It's like, but if he lets him draw cards, he's back in the game.
Yeah.
And it was a very tightly contested one back and forth. So you didn't anticipate Mage at all from your opponents this week? Is that why your secondary and tertiary deck didn't account for it?
Yeah, I was putting Bloody on more like Rogue, Bloodyface for Rogue more than Mage. Because I felt like he would think that Rogue is just like overall stronger power level deck. I think Rogue is right now the best deck. So, and I didn't think that he would go for Mage again since it did so poorly. And in practice, I just don't think Mage just outside the game against Dog versus Saiyan. I think Mage is just kind of weird right now. But yeah, so I didn't put him on Mage.
Yeah, I would say that Mage just has a lot of variance naturally built into it, because sometimes it just has this unstoppable hand, and sometimes it just does literally nothing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I play a Mana Cyclone for 2 spells and hope that I get something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my experience is very similar to that. Eddie, you're after 4 weeks, we're halfway done. You're 6-2 on top of division. I guess I'll ask it again. Is this surprising to you, or do you feel like this is something that you were feeling like this was very doable on your side, given the amount of players that are high level in all of Grandmasters here?
I think I mentioned in the interview, I think my group was a easier group. But nonetheless, they're still really good players. I just think that I did get lucky, for sure. Some games I definitely have good luck. This game I almost threw because I played Warpath after I saw the bomb did 1 damage, as I wanted to just cash out the damage. But I could just play for board. It was kind of greedy for me because I wanted to just end the game, and I could have just played Elik instead that turn. So overall I think that my gameplay is on point. My knowledge for matchups are pretty well. I would say I'm 10-1 in Warrior Mirror. So overall I think that I played decently, and I think I deserve the 6-2. But the same as a lot of people, I would say.
Okay, fair enough. So heading into Vegas, have you had much time to prepare? Because I know a lot of players in Grandmasters, I feel like they haven't had that much time compared to some of the other players out there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't feel as prepared as like maybe most player who has more time to practice. I've been focusing on like just uh weekly against the players, and it's kind of just like there's a lot of time that you have to prep. Even though it looks like I bring Warrior every week, I did different deck for practice. I just don't think it might line. I don't think it will line up against my opponent well. So yeah, that's. I definitely think that I have to like play a lot the next couple of days and just figure out what I think is the best. But overall, right now, I think Rogue is a very strong cast.
Yeah, that's what he wants people to think.
That's
and
what-
then he brings Warrior, crushes all of them
Yeah.
at Vegas. We see through your mind games, Eddie. All right, we're just kidding, man. Congrats on the victory. Congrats on the first place spot right now in Division A. And we'll see you in Las Vegas.
Awesome, take care.
All right. Well, Eddie, I mean, I hate to break it to you. He says it looks like he brings Warrior every week. That's exactly what's happening.
No, it's all a facade. He's actually bringing other decks. He's just making them seem like Warrior.
That's actually brilliant because then he just practices one deck and he's experienced. And then in every Discord channel, he's like, yeah, really thinking Rogue.
Rogue's
maybe
the
the
pick this week,
Hunter.
guys.
Yeah, you know, Mage, I'm definitely coming around to it. And then just brings Warrior every time.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, that does it for match number 5, TJ. We have one more remaining coming up here. And it's going to be quite the fiery one because we definitely have a lot of good stuff coming. So Zalay versus Monsanto. This is a battle for first place and in the middle of the pack. It's another Mage versus Warrior. What's going to happen going into the final match of Super Sunday here at Hearthstone Grandmasters? We'll tell you right after we come back.